Hello, third grade students. This is your music teacher. How are you doing? First of all, I wanted to apologize to you that you are not able to participate in our review. It just happened that it was right after the Terra Nova testing, and you might probably be wondering what we did during that class. So I'm recording this short video for you to kind of review what happens between lesson number 20, number 10 and 20 to be exact, and also what to expect on the test. I will actually show you the test and maybe play some of the music examples so you have a better idea of what to expect. So let me first open the music family book. You can find it in our Google Classroom for Music. It's there. I posted it a couple of times. I will repost it again. So while you're scrolling down with me, you may also take a short look at all the other lessons from 1 to 10 because it's all important, and sometimes things that we've learned before are quite helpful in understanding what follows after. That's why we're going to take a very short look at lessons from, say, 7, which talks about spaced lines and spaces. We're going to need it later. And lesson number 8 that talks about, introduces us to instrument. This is actually the first lesson that shows us all the instruments in the orchestra. And then we're going to each group of instruments separately. So here's keyboard instrument and piano, lesson number 9. And here's our lesson number 10. This is where we start. Our test will contain this lesson. This is about string instruments. So all we need to know is that the grand piano is also a string instrument, even though it has keys. But inside there are strings, and then there are 4 bowed instruments of different sizes, like violin, viola, and cello. And the biggest one is contrabass or double bass. Here are the pictures of them. So we need to know which one is bigger, which one is smaller. The smaller ones will have a higher pitch, sound higher, and also other string instruments that you may not see in the orchestra so often, but especially guitar, which is a strummed or picked instrument that's very popular, and things like banjo, ukulele, bass guitar, electric guitar, jazz guitar, which some of them will show in our review. But here's lesson number 11. These are brass instruments, and again, we have different sizes of brass instruments, from trumpet to French horn to trombone and tuba. In recognizing instruments, it's important to listen to the pitch. If it's high, probably it's going to be trumpet. If it's low, it may be either tuba and trombone, but it's hard to tell, distinguish between tuba and trombone. But as you can see, there's a slide on the trombone. So here, if we hear a sliding sound, that probably is going to be trombone, as opposed to which is tuba. And lesson 12 gives us a little review of both the string and brass family of instruments, and we have some new added here, like harp and jazz guitar, and the flugelhorn, which is something bigger than trumpet, in between French horn and trumpet. Some interesting things to know is that, for example, there are 2 different types of bows for bigger string instruments. One is French, the other German, and also that the brass instruments need to be oiled frequently in order for them to work, because they have pistons or valves that might get stuck if we don't do that. And other things important to know, the French horns, there are 2 kinds of French horns. One is double and another is single. And the trumpet and some other instruments transpose, meaning they play not the same sound that you would hear if you play, for example, piano. So if you play C on the piano and you play C on the trumpet, it's going to sound one step higher. So these are transposing instruments, and also playing strings with the plucking with the fingers called pizzicato, and bowing it's arco. These are the Italian names. Most of the music terms are in Italian. Lesson number 13 is about woodwind instruments, and again we have different sizes. There is a flute, oboe, bassoon, bass clarinet. Okay, here are the pictures. So flute is the smallest, clarinet. Now, why are they called woodwinds? Well, the reason is not that they are made of wood, because some of them are made of metal, like for example, bass clarinet or flute or saxophone, but they have a thin piece of wood in the mouthpiece, here, and there, and this piece is called reed. And there are two types of reeds. Clarinet would have a single reed, saxophone too, but bassoon and oboe will have a double reed. So these are the different kinds. And saxophones, of course, also woodwind instruments, very popular in jazz, important thing to know. And different sizes, soprano, alto, tenor, and baritone. You can see it. The soprano is the smallest. Actually, there's a smallest one, but it's not so popular. It's called sopranino. Then you have soprano, alto, tenor, baritone, and sometimes bass, but again, nobody plays it because it's too big, very hard to transport. And lesson number 15 tells us about percussion instruments, drums, and all this kind of stuff. Again, percussion has a lot of different instruments, not just drums. And here are some examples of it. And you remember in that game of listening to sounds, we had tubular bells, we had snare drum, and we had timpani drums right here. So let's see. We have timpani, of course, chromatic bells, also known as glockenspiel, gong or tam-tam, xylophone. A bigger xylophone is a marimba, bass drum, also known as military drum, set two-hand held cymbals. That was in the listening game too, right here. You remember? I suggest strongly that you go and play that game maybe once or twice again. It's number 2, so you can get used to hearing the instruments. We'll get to it in a moment. Sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself. Tubular bells, a single cymbal, and a snare drum. And now we're on lesson number 16, where we review both woodwind and percussion families, and we add some more percussion things like bongos and maracas. And in woodwinds, we add piccolo, which is a smaller flute. And interesting things to know is that the single reed and the double reed, there's an English horn, another woodwind instrument that we haven't mentioned before. It's of course double reed because it works almost like an oboe. Our oboe is right here. It's just a little bigger than oboe. And bassoon, you see right here. And now another interesting thing is that piccolo, which we already mentioned, is the smaller and higher pitched flute. And then we have all kinds of sets of cymbals and drums in the drum set, and they have their names like smash, ride, splash, crash, and hi-hat. The hi-hat is a set of 2 cymbals operated with the foot, and as you can see, there's also a bass drum that's operated with a beater that goes with the foot pedal. Okay, and now we're on lesson number 17. And this tells us about what notes like what instruments. And here we encounter the tambourine. And here's our first song And what a coincidence, we're in the month of March, and that we have a March, the March. Okay, so here's all the 8 notes, do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do, and there's some different combination of them that make music. Okay, so another combination of those notes is something that you probably know very well from The Sound of Music. Here's a song that uses do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. And let's move to lesson number 19. We're coming to the end soon. Please be patient. I know it's a little long. We're gonna get there soon. The rhythm. So now we have whole notes and half notes. So the important thing to remember, it doesn't matter what pitch it is the shape of the note that tells us how long to hold the note, but where it's placed on the staff, if it's space or line, or which space and which line it is, that tells us about the pitch. So if you see it's low, it's going to be somewhere here. Oh, but it goes higher, it's high. But now look at these two. If it's a whole note, doesn't have any stem attached, that's 4 beats. 1, 2, 3, 4. But if you're here and you have a stem, that's only 2 beats, right? So right here you have to go 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. But if there were whole notes, it would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Much longer. Half time more, actually. So you may have a question in a test. What happens when you add a stem to a whole note? It becomes half note. Or how long is the half note? 2 beats. Lesson number 19, the rhythm. So we're going to the whole, wait a moment, is it the same one that we just had? Okay, I think by mistake I put it here twice. Oh, sorry for that. So right here we can look at those whole notes and make them into half notes by attaching the stems. The important thing is that whenever you hit the middle line and you go above the middle line, the stems will go down. But it's below the middle line, the stems will go up. Right? You want to keep them inside as opposed to try to hang them outside of the staff. And knowing the names, now we can write the names, which is do, la, fa, re, ti, do. There's another do, one is here, another is on the top, re, so. And let's move on. Here are the rules for attaching stems. And these are our first composers. Once we pass lesson 20, we're going to have more composers. But this one is Mr. Beethoven. Beethoven's wig is very big. So whenever you hear music that goes like this, that's Beethoven. Or you may hear something like this. That's Beethoven. But the most famous song of his is this one right here, Ode to Joy. Right? Okay, and guess what? That's it. This is lesson number 21. So we're done. But hold on. Let me show you your test. Okay, now we're going to close this and share with you our test. Now let me see. Just give me a second. It's coming. Here it is. Ta-da! Here's your test. I'm not supposed to show it to you, so shh, don't tell anybody. Okay, there'll be more than just this. So here is your test. Here are the questions. You can either print this and answer them by circling it and then take a picture of it and or scan it and turn it back, or there will be a digital version of it, and we just read the question and click on the right button. So there's always one question and 4 answers. I don't want you to see it, so I'm gonna go really quick, really quick. There are some pictures that you have to look at and match it. But the most important thing is the bottom here, because, for example, it'll say, listen to the music on the flute and find a group of notes that sound alike. So if it says do, re, mi, it's going to sound like this. If it says do, mi, so, it's going to sound like this. Or if it's la, 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 it's going to be, because that's the la sound. Or mi, re, do. So looking at these and hearing one of those, you need to match the names of the notes and what you hear. And then you're going to hear something that plays music, let's say like this. And then it's not going to be that example, and it says woodwind, percussion, string, or brass. So that was strings, right? Good. And then you'll hear another one, something will be playing, but I don't want to give away too much. And then, in addition to this, there'll be a little bit of what we played in the game. So we're gonna hear sound of an instrument, and then look at pictures, and you have to match the sound of instrument with the picture. And I guess that's it, and you're all set. So thank you. Again, I'm very sorry for not being able to do that sooner. I hope you do well on the test. And if you have any questions, don't hesitate to email me, send me a message, call me. There are many ways to contact me. And I had some busy time recently, so I was not able to do that if you did it. But right now I'm up to par, up to speed, up to date, and I hope you are too. So again, thank you, thumbs up, wiggle, and bye-bye. I'll see you next time. Have a good day.